Bon après-midi à tous et bienvenue à cette rencontre du Comité de délégation pour les villes d'Ottawa. Welcome everyone to this Committee of Adjustment hearing for the City of Ottawa. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including, well, essentially minor variances and consents to sever, among a few other minor types of development applications. Our hearings are back to being in person. However, the committee can enable remote participation by video conferences when requested by registered speakers. So do note you are being live streamed on YouTube and the video will be archived as well as the agenda for future viewing by the public, and that's on the committee's website. My name is Anne Tremblay, and I'll be chairing the hearing today. With me are my fellow panel members. I'll start to my right, Member Blatherwick, Member Lecuyer, Member Kekligan, and online with us today, we have Member Coakley. Note that the panel members have reviewed all of the materials related to the applications before us today, including the planning reports and any written submissions in support or opposition. Should also mention that you did see the agenda at the beginning of the hearing. As chair, I have the discretion to play with that order a little bit, and we will be doing that to a certain extent today. So how we'll proceed is we will hear oral submissions relating to each of the applications. In some cases, that won't be necessary. We do have now a fast tracking approach, which is the unopposed applications. And those applications essentially mean that there's been no negative comments or concerns either by staff or anybody out in the public. And at the same time, it's a relatively straightforward and uncontroversial proposal. So we do have a few of those today. So as part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant is required to post a sign on the property before this hearing. And if that doesn't happen, then we have to do either a swearing or of an oath. In any event, that's not that important for today because we have all of the written statutory declarations already in hand. So with that order, so what we typically do is we ask the applicant or the agent to do a presentation. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we'll go straight to questions if it's again an application that's not all that that complicated. Then what we do is we'll go to the public portion of our hearing, which is essentially to give anybody who wants to speak to the panel about the proposal an opportunity. So whether that's here in person or online, I will start with the speakers list that I have, and then I'll open it up to anyone else who would have an interest. Once that public portion is done, then the panel members have an opportunity to consider the comments, ask questions either of the speaker or of staff to get some further clarification about the proposal. And then at the very end, we give the agent an opportunity to recap. Then a decision is made by the committee. Of course, we can either we can grant the applications, we can refuse the applications. We can also reserve on an application, which means that if we've heard a lot of new evidence that's come to us as part of this hearing process, then we will adjourn this hearing and then we reconvene following this hearing to make to further discussion, then make a decision. In all cases, and within 10 days, the committee Committee of Adjustment staff will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all parties, participants, and anyone who has requested a copy of the decision. So if you have any questions on that, just let me know, raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll proceed to the first item of business that we need to take care of, which is declarations of conflict of interest. Is there anyone on this panel who has a declaration for any item on our agenda or any of the other two panels? Anyone? All right. So for the record, there are no conflict declarations of conflict that are being presented. Then we'll go to, we have a couple of minutes that we need to talk about here. We have the October 2nd and the October 16th minutes. Is there anyone who wants to, and I'm talking to the panel members here, any issues with either one of those minutes? Otherwise, we will deem them both confirmed. All right, so I'm seeing that both those sets of minutes are now, for the record, confirmed. All right, so then we go to the next piece. Normally we go to adjournments, and we don't have any adjournments today. So we're going to go to what's called the unopposed and fast tracked. In this case, I don't need the agent to come down. I'm going to read them out. And then give an opportunity if anybody wants to speak. Otherwise, we can go ahead and deal with them. So application number 2, 18 Louisa Street. Application number 4, 135 Duford Street. And application number 7, 285 Montreal Street. Is there anyone either online or here today who wants to speak to any of those items? All right. In that case, I am going to take a vote. All those in favor of the unopposed applications, please. All right, so for the record, those applications are approved. Okay, so I'm going to move on to number 5 next, which is for 139 Duford Street. I'm looking for Agent Ibrahimopour.
Hello.
Sorry.
Yes.
So we don't need a presentation from you. This is relatively straightforward. I'm just going to put it out to the committee members. Does anybody have any questions on this particular application? All right, I'm not seeing any questions from the panel, so I'm going to go straight to the public portion. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to this application? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. We've had a chance to go through this package already, the proposal in depth essentially. So I think we can go to a vote then, members. All those in favor? All right. For the record, the application is unanimously granted. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think that takes us then to, let me just see my order here. I'd like to go to number 1 next. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Scott Alain. I am a planner at Foten Consultants, 420 O'Connor. I'm here on behalf of Mrs. Nahal, who had a family emergency. I'm also on this file, but just for the record, as the agent is noted as Nahal.
All right, thank you. No presentation required from you. I'm opening it up to the panel members at this point. Anybody have any questions for the agent? All right, again, we have a fairly straightforward agenda today with, I'm almost worried about what we're going to get the next hearing. So we have this kind of, these kinds of applications. It's unusual to say the least. All right, so I don't think I have anybody speaking on this one. Just want to check. No, nobody on my my applicant, or sorry, on my speakers list. Is there anyone in the audience or online would like to speak to the committee about 660 Hochelaga Avenue? Member Coakley.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I should have asked this question a couple of minutes ago, and it's just purely for clarification. And I appreciate if you're so pinch hitting, you may not know the answer, and that would be fine. In the material, there's the property is described as being a condominium development, and yet it appears, and this is just, I'm just seeking clarification and confirmation if possible. It appears, though, that perhaps the developer registered the condominium, retained ownership of all of the units, and is renting them out. Is that a correct understanding on my part?
Through you, Madam Chair, the owner is available online, but I can speak to this in simple terms, and then if there's further questions, they could elaborate. But that is correct. The applicant who is seeking the severance owns all of the units of this condominium. The next step, should the severance be granted, would be to basically amend that condominium agreement to recognize the severance. But yes, they own all of the units through their corporation. and they are currently renting them out. This gives me an opportunity to speak to the comment on file for this, which I was hoping to do, which is regarding the tenancy of one of the tenants in this condominium plan. We wrote through the owner a message back to this tenant. Their concern was whether this severance had any bearing on their rent that they currently pay and their stay in their unit. And through the letter submitted again through the committee, it's confirmed that there's no intent to change that person's rent through this application, and there's also no intent to do it but beyond the statutory changes, and that if through renovations to the condominium require her to relocate, it would be they would seek a unit in the same subdivision in the same condominium, and they would reflect the existing rent. So I would leave it to Mr. Augustine if he wants to clarify on any of those matters, but that is the arrangement through you, Madam Chair, if there's any further questions from Mr. Coakley.
All right,
No.
thank you, Mr. Ardine.
That
Member
was
Coakley?
fine. No, that was fine. Thank you very much. It clarified my understanding or confirmed my understanding. Yeah.
All right, so back to the public portion. Is there anyone online or in the audience who would like to speak to this application? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. Then, Mr. Ardine, the only other question for you then, in agreement with all of the conditions?
Yes, we have reviewed and concur with the conditions as written. Thank you.
All right, in that case, any two words to recap, or would you like us to go to a vote?
Happy to go to a vote. I'll just say thank you to staff for the support on the application, and otherwise I'll leave it to you. Thanks.
Always appreciated to get that, thanks. So thank you for thinking to do that. All right, so members of the panel, all those in favor? All right, for the record, the application is unanimously granted. Thank you, Mr. Ardine, for pinch hitting today.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so we're going to go on to number 3, looking for Agent Harris on 183 Columbus. Hello. Okay, I think you're young.
Rosalind Hill, representing the owner. My office is at 414 Churchill Avenue North.
And this is for 183 Columbus Avenue?
Yes.
All right, because I do not have your name, Ms. Hill, for this application. Okay, so on this one, again, no presentation required. I'm opening it up to the committee members for questions. Go ahead, anyone? We're a quiet bunch today, so, okay. With that then, looking at my speakers list, number 3, no one on my list for this one. So opening it up to the public, is there anyone in the audience or anyone online who would like to speak to this application for 183 Columbus Avenue? All right, not seeing anybody come forward. So with that, Ms. Hill, you're aware of all of the conditions on this application?
Yes, we are.
Any concerns?
There was a question about the doubling of the noise conditions. I wondered if the planner could speak to that.
So I had the same question, Ms. Hill, when I saw it. So we're looking at, sorry. King.
Conditions 6 and 7.
Yeah, Ms. King, if you could, normally it's one or the other. So can you explain why we're going with both this time?
Yeah, of course. Staff are agreeable to removing condition number 7, so long as the notice stays on title, so condition number 6. Just to quickly clarify where that condition was coming from, it comes from the city's environmental noise control guidelines, because this property is within 100 meters of a collector's road, which is Donald Street. That's what triggers the guideline to require a noise study. So in this case, engineering staff requested the notice on title and the study, but they did review it again, and they are willing to remove the noise study, so as long as that condition number 6 for the notice on title remains.
So that's interesting, because typically if you do the noise study, then what winds up happening is there's mitigation measures, and those are supposed to be incorporated as part of the construction of the unit. And then there shouldn't be any real worries with regards to noise, right? So then no need for anyhow, I'm glad. It looks like we can delete condition number 7, so let's do that then. All right, I just want to give a chance to committee members. Any questions at all before we give it to Ms. Hill to recap? No? All right, Ms. Hill, over to you before we make a vote.
Okay, well, it's a simple severance of a semi-detached dwelling that's well under construction now. It's dividing a property in half. It's a well-serviced property. The proposal is zoning compliant. So it's as simple a severance as you can get. Both halves will be serviced separately. And the development is of a design that's common already in that neighborhood.
All right, thank you for that. In that case, members of the panel, all those in favor of approval with the amended conditions? All right, so for the record, Ms. Hill, this application is granted.
Thank you very much.
All right, on to number 8. I think that may be you again, Ms. Hill, so maybe, how about we go to that one? All right, so on this one, let's see. We have a number of comments in support, so that's encouraging. I think I'm just going to open it up to questions then from the members of the panel. Is that, I'm just, can I have the gallery view? Oh, thank you. Any questions from the members on this? All right, I just have one then, Ms. Hill. Can you just, we adjourned this the last time to give an opportunity to speak with neighbors. Can you just tell us a little bit about what happened since the last hearing, please?
Myself and the client's arborist, and one of the clients, so Anton's wife, we met with 2 representatives from the community association at the site under the tree, so that we could kind of talk about scenarios. So the concern from the community association reps was, well, front yard parking, why is this request any different from anybody else's request for front yard parking? And the difference is all about tree preservation of one very big tree. So it was an opportunity for us to kind of what if it, well, what if the car was in this compliant location? What would that mean for the tree? Or what if the car was in this compliant location? What would that mean for the tree? And then the arborist was able to walk us through, and it became really very clear that it's in everybody's best interest to have the front yard parking space where it's been proposed in the application. And the tree is just very lovely and well worth respecting, preserving.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hill. That's good to hear. Okay, with that then, I'm going to go to the public portion on this. I have no one on my speakers list. Is there anyone in the audience? Come on down, Mr. Gray. Just need you to, for the record, your name and address, please.
Tim Gray, TIMGRAY, 190 West Village Private with the Westboro Community Association. So just to concur with Ms. Hill, it was a real productive meeting we had. And we just did have some questions about, the what ifs, and their arborist really helped us kind of understand why they couldn't have a parking pad in the backyard. Other than that, I'm still a little cheesed off about the size of the site triangle. It's ridiculously huge. And it really seems kind of stupid, but it's a 6x6 site triangle on two little tiny streets. And the reason there's a variance is because the thing is so huge. If it was a normal, like I would expect to see a 3x3 site triangle on two little local side streets like that. And it's starting to kind of get out of hand. So I follow this kind of thing all the time, even at the planning committee. And that is a massive site triangle, even for streets like Churchill, Kirkwood. You know, that's the kind of streets that I would expect that to be on. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it. But I think it's just, you know, a real overreach by the city.
Well, I don't know whether or not the zoning bylaw review would offer some opportunity on that basis, because I agree with you. I mean, some of these things may be legacy requirements based on maybe a different set of assumptions at the time, a different period altogether. So, yeah, maybe there's something to be done through the review process.
Well, I'll try, but I mean, in the past and not that distant past, this would be a 3x3. And I mean, I could do all the research and show you the situations where just recently, you know, it's a 3x3, and that makes sense on a street like that. I'm all for safety, but this is just, you know, crazy because the owner has to convey that to the city, and it really restricts, you know, what they can do in that area. They can't even plant a tree there now.
So, Mr. Gray, you are in touch with your city councillor about these things?
Well, I can't talk to him about anything to deal with the committee of adjustment because he won't talk about it. But I have reached out to the city. He's got a strict rule that he just doesn't, you know, he stays right out of the committee of adjustment, which is fine. But I've reached out to the city, and I've got a thing with 311. They're gonna send me back the criteria for you know, site triangles, and it should be based on, you know, the traffic volumes and speed and things like that, where this is just, it's just become this blanket 6x6, no matter where it is. And as a matter of fact, this, because I follow the planning committee so closely in Westboro, it's the streets where there's a major project that's going to the planning committee. These site triangles are much smaller than that. It just doesn't make any sense.
So I would suggest to you that in fact, that is a transportation issue and a road issue, and you could very much talk to your counselor about that. It only happens to be a minor variance on this application, but it sounds like it's more widespread, obviously, than the impact on this particular property, and I would chat with him about it, so.
Well, what
Anyway.
I'm saying is it shouldn't be a minor variance because it's only a minor variance because the thing is so huge. If it was a relatively justifiable size, they wouldn't have to have a minor variance for it. And if they had have gotten if we had in our meeting, they had have said, the arborist said, okay, well, we could sneak the parking pad in the back in this particular spot. It's gonna be okay with the tree. They wouldn't even need to be here other than to have that variance for the encroachment in the site triangle. So that's all I'm saying. And I just wanted to vent my spleen on you people because nobody else listens.
Well, thank you. It's always good to understand some of the issues that are out there that are of concern, so we do appreciate the time you've taken.
This is
to,
this is a super project and something we're really, you know, supportive of. So
All right,
anyways,
thank
thanks a lot.
you. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Okay, with that, anyone else in the audience or online who would like to speak to this application? Member Blatherick, go ahead, please.
Just a question to staff. The setback on Everett from the edge of street to property line, any idea what that distance is?
If you could just give me one moment, Mr. Blatherick, I will pull it.
Not a problem.
Sorry for the delay there, Mr. Blatherick. So the corner side yard setback on Everett is 4.5 meters.
So that's the edge of pavement to the property line. I'm talking about the width of the right of way.
I don't know the width of the right of way.
All right, and. for
I can
Mr.
do a quick measure on my system
well,
if you'd like.
It looks to be fairly substantial. And there are a number of locations in the neighborhood I live in where this type of the 6-meter site, the corner site triangle are in place. And that's because of the width of the right of way. Because that street at some point 50 years ago was slated to be widened, which is why they put the site triangles in. So Mr. Gray, you may want to take a look at the width of the right of ways in neighborhoods like this to determine where those site plans are and why they are the size they are. If you had a narrower, quite frankly, a narrower right away from the edge of pavement to property line, you'd probably be a 3-meter.
So I think, do you have a question?
No, I
for,
just wanted to
Mr. Gray?
comment, and it just as a comment, I mean, this is my understanding of why these went in this way. So he can pursue that with counselor and staff, but they're in all over the city like this.
All right, thank you, Member Blatherwick. Okay, anyone else before we turn it over to Ms. Hill for a recap? All right, over to you.
Hi, I think we're bringing a relatively simple proposal with a modest house that replace an existing, even more modest house. And 2 small variances that both are to the advantage of tree preservation. Keep the building away from a tree and the paving away from the tree. So we've got lots of support from neighbors who are very interested in seeing the house built. And we're looking forward to the opportunity to contribute something really simple and new to the neighborhood. And I just want to turn it over to my client Anton for the last word.
Thanks very much. My name is Anton Bisglasny. I live at 433 Everett Avenue. We've been there for about 9 years. We live there with my wife, Chantal, and our 2 young kids. And we just wanted to introduce ourselves because we are a young family seeking to improve our housing situation, frankly, in a city where and in a country where there's a housing crisis.
Thank you. We do appreciate your comments to the committee. Okay. If that's the recap, then members of the panel, all those in favor? All right. For the record, the decision is unanimous and granted. Thank you so much for your time today. All right, let's go to number 6, 624 Parkview Road, looking for Agent Sun. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is architect, so I'm going to present on the behalf of the owner. My name is Chang Sun. I live in the Canada 33 Willow Gun Drive.
All right, thank you. No presentation required from you again today. Let's see, looking for questions from the committee. Anyone? All right, there were some concerns raised, if I remember correctly, to do with, there's a resident. So just want to ask you a little bit about the consultation that you undertook with the neighbors.
No, we didn't. You mean talk to the neighbor?
You didn't undertake any kind of consultation whatsoever with your neighbors? For proposals like this?
We just opposed the post. On the left, the same owner with the same owner as 624, the same owner. On the right, my client did talk to the neighbor on the right. That's for sure.
All right, so Mr. Sun, when applications come forward to the Committee of Adjustment, because of the grassroots nature of these applications, they affect people beside the property, behind the property, in front of the property. We tend to like to see some consultation with neighbors and to understand that there has been a dialogue if there are issues before we even get to this hearing. So I'm seeing I'm seeing a comment that's opposed, and we do have a speaker on your application, a resident who's going to speak to the committee. Have you had a chance to speak with anyone at all then about some of these concerns?
I got a comment one a neighbor before the meeting. So I think what his concern will be addressed in the building permit application process and not for the minor variance. This is my understanding.
Okay, all right. And does anyone on the panel have any questions? All right, I am going to go to the public portion at this point. I see we have Ms. Carson with us online. All right, Ms. Carson, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Lori Carson and I'm at 616 Parkview Road, so right beside the property. Our street is 1 block long and we understand that densification is required and a good thing for the community. All houses that come down on our street are replaced at least by semis. Last year, you may be familiar with the development across the street where 2 houses came down and now 16 units are there. And now there's a proposal for, I had understood 12 units, but perhaps it's 8. But still an extreme densification on 1 block. So questions that I and other neighbors have, my understanding is there isn't any account of parking. I need that clarified. If there isn't, it drives me a bit crazy hearing about a parking pad on some other properties when it looked like there's none on this one for 8 or more units. The parking on the street has become near impossible because with every property being divided, there isn't even room between driveways for parking on the street. So there's less and less available. We have concerns about infrastructure of the street, given that this street has more than doubled number of units, and I haven't done the recent calculation, but it's far more than what was built 50 years ago. I also have a question. We had spoken to Jeff about the potential, at the very least, to have, we're at the end of our street behind Hampton Park Plaza is the dog park and baseball diamonds, and there's a full parking lot there that isn't plowed in the winter. And at the very least, if nothing else can happen, has that been investigated and could it be plowed in the winter? Because that is an area that could allow for more parking that's only half a block away. We did speak to the owner of the property about trees because we have 2 trees that are shared. And so we're not happy about the trees coming down. There were over a dozen taken down across the street. So frankly, we're feeling kind of defeated about protecting any trees, but there was an agreement to keep 1 tree. So out of many, including a beautiful old oak that will be coming down in the backyard. If we can keep 1 more, that's what was promised. So we hope that will happen. So that's all I have for now. Can't hear you.
Can I just
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yeah, just a moment. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, okay. So, Mr. Sun, I think what we'd like to do is get some clarification from staff on a few things, and then we can come back to you. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we heard a number of things on this. I think we're looking, planner on this is, sorry, got to get to the last page. Sorry, is it Ms. King? No. Hi. Okay, so we're just wondering, I'm looking at the table that's in the report on page 12. I'm not seeing number of parking. What's the parking requirement for this site?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe it's in area X, but if you give me one moment, I'll just check that. My colleague, Mr. Teeft, wrote the report and I'm stepping in today to speak to it.
All right, I'm seeing, so minimum parking space, I guess not required. I thought maybe that was the area. So Mr. Sun, can you confirm that then? That there's no parking requirement?
Yeah,
for
this property in
particular
the area X. So any residential less than 12 unit, the parking not required by zoning by law.
And how many units are we talking about? It sounds like there's some confusion about that.
12.
There will be 12 units?
Yeah.
So in the bylaw says 12 or less. Is
Yes.
that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in your notice, the number of units? No, I'm not seeing the number of units. We've run across this before, Mr. Sun, where the public, the neighbors are confused because it's not in the notice. Does it have to be in the notice necessarily? No, but it does help because when we get to the committee discussions, we're not trying to figure out, well, how many units are we really talking about? If in fact it's in the notice. So if you could just make note of that for the future, that would be appreciated. Okay. What else did we hear about? We heard about the tree situation. So can you tell us a little bit about what was done for tree preservation, Mr. Sun?
Yeah. I work with the arborist and the city forestry. So before we even we submitted our application, so the site plan has been reviewed many times with comment from the arborist. And also we meet the city forestry, Nancy, myself, and structural engineer, owner, and arborist, Andrew. So we meet on site. So we discuss several options. So we come up the solution. All party agree, and we submit our tree information report and the revised site plan. So there's a tree on site, but some of the tree is in poor condition. And also we got the sign form from the neighbor to remove tree number 3 and number 4. And the neighbor agreed to remove on the right side. On the left side, the owner also signed the tree remove form. We removed the tree number 6. And on the backyard, and we're going to have also the recommended by the arborist in his report. So we can do the air knife and hydro excavation during construction to protect some existing tree intact. So we done a lot of work for the try to reserve the tree on site.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sun. I'm going to call for, is it Ms. Young who's with us today from Forestry Services? Good
Yes.
afternoon, Ms. Young. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. So here's my question to you then. You're satisfied with a couple of questions. So when I look at the rear yard setback, I'm wondering how many of the trees, if we weren't looking at a minor variance for those setbacks today, would there be the possibility of saving additional trees? And if not, or if so, even given the design that's before us today, are you satisfied that we have reached essentially the best scenario that we can?
Thank you. That's a good question. We did look at all possible options here. With the reduced rear yard setback, we were hoping that maybe that would give us some opportunity to retain some other trees, but unfortunately, the spectacular oak tree that the neighbor mentioned is still within the allowable footprint. So changing that setback would have no effect on whether that tree is to be removed or not. There is another tree in the rear yard listed as number 7. It would be retainable if the setback was the actual required setback, but it is in poor condition. So we did take a very close look at it on site, and We felt that some changes toward the middle of the property and the use of the air knife and hydro excavation that the applicant mentioned, we thought that that would better protect trees in the rear yard overall than trying to retain tree number 7 through modifications to the building or the rear lot line. We didn't look that much at changes to the front, but again, it's where the allowable footprint is. So that is where the impact is to the neighbors' trees. There could potentially be other opportunities there, but that would require further variances.
All right, so through design, you think that maybe if we push the whole development a little bit further back, sacrifice that tree that you're talking about that's in poor condition in any event, there might have been additional opportunity to retain more trees, but not the oak one that we are concerned about. All right, okay, good to have that understanding. Any questions? If you wanted to stay with us for a moment, I'm not sure if the committee wants to pursue anything on the tree side. Ms. Carson, we will not be going back out to the public at this point. So we've, well, actually we will because you are our first speaker. So I'm going to give you a minute. Go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm whether the maple that was agreed on that's closer to the back line, it's actually closer to our property and close to the back line, is going to be retained.
Yes, I can take that one. I don't know if you've seen a copy of the tree information report. I think it should be online, so you should have access to it. But there are 4 trees in the rear yard that will be retained. And one of them, tree 9, is the one right behind where the oak is, closer to your property. And that one is to be retained.
All right, thank you, Ms. Young, for your input on that. Anyone else with any questions? Okay, I'm going to do a general call out at this point. Is there anyone either in this audience or online who would also like to address the committee on this application? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward, so the public portion is now closed. Opportunity for any further questions by panelists at this point? All right, then Agent Sun, it's up to you at this point to just give us a recap of the proposal.
Sure, yeah. I'd like to do a little quick summary. So let's just stick to 624 Parkview Road is at good location because it's between the Kirkwood Avenue and Island Park Drive and close to the park and also walking distance to the 417. And they have shopping mall, retail, and professional office, car dealership all around. So it's close to the public transit. We propose the long semi-detached. Semi-detached already in this neighborhood and also have a low-rise and high-rise building in this neighborhood. And we're only looking for the one minor variance, the rear yard setback. But I'm looking at the same neighborhood, the same block, existing semi-detached house. There's rear yard setback even less than what we pursue. So the existing semi-detached 593, 602, 603, their rear yard only 6.4 meter. And the cross street, another one is only 8.3, much less than us would propose. So we see for this land, it's a good opportunity to provide more housing unit without disturb the neighborhood. So that's my recap.
So Agent Sun, the only thing I think you should be mindful about in doing some of those comparisons is, in this case, we have a well-treed lot, not sure about what the conditions were. Trees are becoming as important in considering and making decisions as the impact from either privacy or something like that. So just so you know, we take it very seriously when we look at the fact that we're affecting the canopy in the area. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make the little comment. So we just pursued 20% of the lot depth, which are permitted by the zoning by law. Even we have 20% depth of the lot depth, we still have We have the 94% landscape at the rear yard, which about 84 square meter, 900 square foot landscape at the rear yard. And the front yard, we have 78% landscape for the front yard. So which we provide a lot of the green space.
To be honest, glad to see that that's not proposed parking everywhere and that has been essentially preserved. So yes, it makes it more desirable, that's for sure, on that basis. So thank you for your recap. At this point, members of the panel, are you ready to make a decision? Yeah, all right, all those in favor? All right, so for the record, the application is unanimously granted. We didn't talk about the conditions, but all of the conditions will then apply to that. You're okay with that?
Yeah, we agree, yeah.
All right, okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. So unless anybody has any other business, we are adjourned. All right, thank you.